Hello, everybody who is watching the playback, and anyone who's here. Um, so today I am super, super, super excited to be interviewing Cass Kay, who is the author of Legacy Witches, which is such a cool freaking book. I
Thank
read
you.
this book last year. You're welcome. I read this book last year and like I just got super excited because it just gave me all the vibes. So I guess Cass, did you want to just say a couple of things like about yourself, introduce yourself to anyone who is live watching us right now or might be watching the playback later?
Sure, no problem. I'm Cass Kay. Super lucky to have people like Hannah supporting me. I just published my first 2 books this year. It's been a crazy roller coaster, and readers and fans are amazing. It's been the best experience. I write scary stuff, I write witchy stuff, ghostly stuff. I think I lean into horror, but I could probably easily be slapped into urban fantasy. Uh, Dab of romance here and there. We'll see. That's coming out in later books.
Awesome. Did you want to like give a synopsis or kind of like an overview of like what the Legacy Witches series is about?
The
Just
series or the
generally.
first book? Those are
Huh?
two different beasts. The series or the first book?
Well, I guess someone who hadn't heard of Legacy Witches and you and they were going to read the first book is what I would say.
I would definitely say you have to like a little bit of horror. You definitely need to be like an equal rights open person, I think, to appreciate a lot of the stories and the characters. Um, it's witchy, like I said. The main characters are generally like 26 to 30-year-old range. So it's definitely adult issues they're dealing with. There's a main character, Vaiana Roots, and she grew up in a witch family, and she grew up in Salem, Massachusetts, and she ran away because she hated it. It was horrible. I didn't really go the route of the happy, nice witches. We've got some mean, nasty witches, and it just wasn't for her, and so she ran away. But her mom dies, and the estate and the witchy house and the witchy book and all the witchy stuff is now in her control. And so there's a lot of responsibility with that, as much as she hates it. So she comes back to Salem, and that's the series. How did she survive here? How did she find herself in the place that she swore she never would be? And here she is.
Right. Yeah. I really was surprised that I don't think I'd ever read like a modern day book about witches set in Salem. I don't know why, because you would think, but I thought
Right?
that was
They're
really cool.
usually
Sarah?
set like period pieces that are further back historical. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Hello, hello. So I definitely would say like when I first was reading it, I didn't know what to expect going into this
I get that a lot.
because the cover gives different vibes, but it was like, and I still don't know how I would describe this. Like for me personally, maybe I would say like a cozy paranormal horror, but like had a baby with a cozy witchy mystery.
Okay.
That's like I
I think you're
guess, or
right. I think whatever you want it to be, that's what it is.
yeah, and and the cozy to me comes from um some of the tropes, I think, like found family. We have found family in here. We
Yep.
have just like witchy vibes in general, which if I'm gonna read a cozy, I love there to be witches in it. And there is also oh my gosh, there was another one too, like a classic cozy one. I should have written it down. But there's
Haunted
like
house?
a bunch of tropes in here that I feel like I see in
The haunted house. That's a good trope in there.
Yeah. Well, no, I would say like animal companion. It takes the like cozy animal companion trope and then flips it on its head and like kicks it out the door. Like,
It does.
and I
Yeah, it
love
does.
that. Like, I love I love the animal companion, let's just say, in this book. But I think the first thing that kind of caught me when I was first picked it up was like within like a page or two, there was, you know, our main character was seeing ghosts and she was getting into an argument with a house. And I was like, what is going on? But like in the
Yeah,
best way,
I don't
right?
really play around. I just throw you right into it.
Right. Yeah. And that was so that was really cool. Um so I guess that kind of leads me into like your inspiration. What was your inspiration for Legacy Witches?
I am a really, really big into ancestry and genealogy. And Susanna Roots is my 12th great aunt. So her brother is my 12th great grandfather. And
Oh my goodness.
she was an accused witch during the Salem witch trials. Um, she is by no means, and I have a little blurb in there, like nothing that happens in the book obviously is reality. I'm not saying this is like even Susanna Roots in the book has a different death and path than my 12th great aunt. She was a widow and she was carted off to Boston in the jails with all of the elderly. Then that happened to, and she's one of the ones that died like a month or two after she was released because the treatment was so bad. If you hear that rumbling, I have like a big thunderstorm going on out here in this window right next to me. And I could have shut the window, but I was like, no, I love thunderstorms. We're all going to enjoy it. So that's what you're hearing there.
You're good.
But Susanna, I don't know. Viana Roots, the name of the protagonist, if you go down my genealogy tree, she's like, that name is 6 generations down. Like a lot of it, all of the names, so there's a grimoire that has all of the legacy witches all the way back to when they first came to Salem. And every single name picked out is a name from my ancestry. So
That is so cool.
I definitely feel them with me, if that's okay to say. Kind of weird. But they're definitely with me. And I think when there's family with you, there's always, it's not always good. Sometimes they're jerks. Sometimes they're supportive. Sometimes they tear you down. And I feel that even with my creepy far back ancestors. So I think that's where it started. And I started researching Salem and my particular line and things they went through. And then it just all kind of snowballed.
That is really cool. So it's inspired by your family, basically.
Yeah. Which is hilarious because it's about serial killers and murders and horrible things. But I don't come from a line of serial killers, I promise. But in a lot of ways, yeah, it was inspired by my family.
It definitely goes dark. There was a scene in the first book that I think I mentioned something to you. This was like a while ago. I was like something about trigger warnings, right? Because there was a scene during that funeral in the first book. I was like, okay, she's gonna go there.
I basically, anyone who has trigger warnings has issues
They're
with
in the
me.
book now.
Well, I tried, and the thing is no matter how many trigger warnings I listed, I forgot some. Basically, if there's anything that's going to trigger you, you probably shouldn't read my stuff. I'm so sorry. Like, I don't want to put anyone through that, and I don't want to trigger people. But I do go there. I always go there, no matter what the trigger is. So
Yeah.
sorry, not sorry. I don't know.
I liked how it went. It went darker than I was like, I guess, like initially expecting.
Yeah, I get
And
that
I like
sometimes.
that. I definitely like that.
Oh, good.
Was this the first book that the first book in the series? Was this the first one you've ever written, or were there like unpublished works before this?
Yeah.
Or like under a different name?
Well, I have a published book under a different name, and that went very poorly. It was my first book I ever wrote, and like I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't get it edited, and I just like put it up, and it's gosh, live and learn, right? And then I've written other books, but I knew I wanted to be better than where I was at, so I kept writing and kept doing more books until I found a story that I believed was worth sharing. I believed I had finally figured out a story that I believed in, a story that was crafted well enough, and Legacy was that one.
Awesome. So your stuff's like not the other stuff's not out there though.
No.
Okay.
I might redo some of it at some point and put it out. This series is going on. I have a series that'll be coming out next year that I co-wrote with another author, Poppy Minix. She's a romance author. And so it's dark romanticy, fantasy stuff. And we've got the first 4 books of that written. So we're hoping to get the first book out this next year. Your face is very happy right now. I like that a lot. So that'll be coming out as
fantasy
long
romance
as
is my favorite genre.
yeah. I really like that genre too. I'm a big fantasy reader, a big urban fantasy reader. I love horror. I love romance. I really do. I love fantasy romance. I kind of dabble and play in everything. So I'm really excited about that series coming out too.
Can you tell us like the name?
Yeah, it's the Capal series, the Isle of Capal. And it's all out of Celtic folklore. So each book is dual point of view, where there's a point of view from each romantic side. And the first book is a giant fairy and a kelpie. And each book features a different couple as they go through and handle all of the Celtic folklore that I just don't think is delved into enough. I love Celtic folklore. I've got huge Irish, Scottish, Welsh roots. So diving into that, again, going back to me and ancestry and how important that is to me, I am ridiculously versed in Celtic lore. So it's been so fun going and taking twists on some of that and flipping things upside down. And Poppy's just fantastic to write with. It's been amazing. So
I'm freaking out right now.
Good. It'll be coming soon. I think
so excited.
book 3 and the first book for the Capal series will be pretty close to each other, coming out right in the beginning of next year.
Oh, okay. That's pretty soon.
Yeah.
Is that going to be something that's going to be published by you guys, like both of you together? You guys are going to publish that, or okay?
Yeah. She works through a publishing house, but I do self-publishing, and I think we're going to do the self-publishing route for our stuff.
Do you think that's going to be available on KU?
I don't know. We're still debating that. She has all of her stuff on KU. I have none of my stuff on KU. So we're going to have to figure that out with 2 different fan bases. And
it's a whole different thing, right? Like that's a whole.
It is.
Yeah.
It is a very whole different thing. I am not based just in Amazon. I'm kind of based all over out there. Mm-hmm. It's a whole different just tactic. You know, both options are awesome. There's success in going all different routes and everything. It's just how you do it.
Well, I'm excited. Like I'm
good.
I'm excited to get that tea. So you've written, when do you think you started writing that? Always been writing?
Well, I have been writing. I am 41 years old, and I think I started writing when I was like 15. But I didn't do novel writing. I started with journalism, and then I went into script writing. I did a lot of stage theater, acting, and writing. And then I took a break. And then when I got back into it, I got into film scripts and wrote those for a little bit, short stories. And then I finally settled on novel writing. And that was probably, let's see, my oldest is 16. So it was probably a good 14 years ago that I settled on novel writing. So it took me that long to get a book out that I'm proud of. But you know what? I didn't give up.
That's awesome. That's a long time, and I think it's really interesting that you wrote so much before you ever even like put something out there. I mean, I think everyone's different, and I don't know too much about it, but I mean, I think you picked the right one to wait on, like to actually put it out there. You know,
I'm glad. Me too.
I'm glad that you didn't wait on that one.
Me too. I have no regrets.
What was your process like writing Legacy Witches, and is it the same as when you were writing? I mean, it can't be the same if you have another author friend that you're writing another book with, but in general, has your process kind of stayed the same or different from how you wrote this first book right here?
I think it's refined a little bit with each time. I do tend to write from first page to last page. I don't, some writers will like do different scenes and then patchwork it all together. I kind of go beginning to end. And then I go back in and I have different layers that I add in and different passes for editing. As I write more and more, I realize more of my own weaknesses and strengths. And so I know going in like, okay, Cass, you're going to have to put more internal dialogue because you're not telling people what's going on. I always do that, you know? And so I have like a whole pass just for that. And clean it up. And I have some really amazing trusted beta readers that I don't know what I would do without. I can throw it to them pretty dirty still, and they can go in and they know my writing and my work and mark it all up for me. And then I go in and do a whole nother pass that's so extensive, it's almost like rewriting it. But then I feel really confident and good about it. And then I can look at sending it to the different types of editors it goes out to. So it takes me a little bit. It's worth it though. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right.
Right. Yeah. Is it like the same with the fantasy romance, or?
It's pretty much the same. We do a really unique style, actually. I run an online writing group that focuses on role play as a way to develop characters. Because like role play writing, I think is pretty big out there, but it's got a pretty negative name a lot of times. We use it as exploring your character outside of the actual story and work in progress. So that way, when you bring them into that work in progress, they have a stronger voice. You understand more about all the stuff that's happened to them off page that makes them act certain ways and makes them consistent. And so I do a lot with, there's like 600 writers in that group. It's a really fun, it's a really fun group. I do big events, host it. It's fantastic. They're just, writers are amazing. But Poppy and I actually do role play writing when we do the first draft of a book. So she'll write a chunk and then my character responds. So she's completely in charge of her character. I'm completely in control of mine. I do all of the movements and verbiage for mine and she does for hers. And then after we get the whole story out, we go and we break it up into chapters. And then it goes into a regular process of beta readers, editors, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you each take on a character.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The voices.
I always wondered, how does that work?
You know, I don't think there's like a regular way for co-writing from what we like, because we're like, how do people do this? Are we doing this super weird? There's not really a consistent way. Everyone has like a different path with that.
Right.
So, yeah. But it works.
I remember, I think the first one that I really thought about that was Zodiac Academy. But there's a lot of characters in that. So who knows? I guess I could find out what they did, but I think that was the first book that like I read like a whole series where it was two authors that were co-writing it. So how long do you see Legacy Witches like being? I know we've got two books, right? We had this one, and
there's two books out now.
Yeah, and then this other one just came out.
The third one is in the process, but I have the series mapped out. I know where I'm going. If I can stay to my plans, it's about 8 books with a breakout character having their own solo book. And that would not be a new series. It would just be the one book. It kind of feeds into the rest of the story to explain stuff. So we'll see. That's my plan. But Vi and Dee are really loud in my head, and sometimes they have more plans than I do. So
I love that.
So some days I do. Some days they're a little much.
I love their relationship. But
too.
Is there, because like just thinking about them and the way they go back and forth, I'm like, I think Vianna would be my favorite character, which I guess is kind of cliche because she's the main character. but,
No,
like,
that's good. I'm glad.
I feel like in so many ways I can relate to her. Do you have a favorite character in that series, or
Um, Vi and Dee's relationship together is definitely one of my favorite things. I think so often women are pitted against each other in books, in society, in movies to compete with each other. Like there's only so many room, I don't know, for women to succeed. And so, super, super cheesy actually. But Grey's Anatomy, we used to watch that back in the day all the time. And I just fell in love with Meredith and Christina and how there was this positive
Mhm.
woman relationship that was like real. It was actually real. And I'm like, I want more of that. I want to see more of that in literature. I want to show how women can strengthen each other. And so that was really important to me. And that doesn't mean that they're always nice and always, there's going to be fights, there's going to be problems, and that's how we make each other stronger. And so that matters to me a lot in that series. As far as a favorite character, gosh, I love them all. Frankie's got my heart a little bit, so that's why she's got her own book coming. So
That's awesome. That is
yeah.
awesome. Um, how did you find, like, when I'm thinking about D, like, how did you do the research into how to come around writing a trans character?
This is like a terrifying topic. I'm just gonna be totally bluntly honest with you. It's a terrifying topic.
I
It was
know I didn't tell you I was going to ask that question because I just thought of it. I was just like, I wonder.
No, that's totally fine, and I think it's a fair question. And if I was doing an interview, I would want to know. Especially as a writer, I want to know because there's this weird line of how do you write a character and give it respect if it's not your story and what you've been through? You know what I mean? Because that can be a thing.
And you
And
can't be
so,
everything.
right, we can't. But I definitely don't want to take stories or voices away from people who are ready to tell those stories either. But D, I was terrified to write a transgender character because I have so much respect for the community and what someone goes through in that situation. And I just didn't want to mess it up. Like, I just wanted to make sure I showed it in the most positive, loving way and how amazing people are. All types of people are amazing. So with D, I was halfway through the first draft of the book before she showed up. And she just walked into the scene and took over. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? And she literally was a voice in my head. She's like, yeah, you're going to have to go back and rewrite the first half of the book now because I'm here. I was like, wait a minute. You are? Are you sure? Because I don't know. What if I mess it up? She's like, no. You're not messing it up. I got you. And like, I put in so much research and tried really hard so that I'm respectful. But Dee's voice is Dee. Like, that's just who she is. It's not just because she's transgender. She's like so many other things. And she is one of the most multifaceted,
She's an
amazing
amazing
characters.
cocktail maker.
She is. She's fantastic klepto. She can steal anything without you knowing it. But
my dog's
she made the
whining. I'm
story
sorry.
better. No, you're fine. She made Viana better. Like Viana, the protagonist, is a better character because of her. Her life is better and more fulfilled because of their friendship. So I just try to look at her that way. She's not just transgender. She's D. She's fucking awesome. So I guess that's how I tackled it.
Yeah.
So far, no complaints. So I'm going to take that as a
no. I mean, I'm not trans, so I can't say, but like I can't like say well, I guess. But I mean, I thought it was done well, and yeah, I love Dee. I think she's an awesome character. So I think you did a good job.
I think in the reviews, Dee is by far the most loved character.
That's
Fans,
good. Has there
readers.
been like anyone from the trans community that has read Dee that like said anything like either positive or negative?
Well, I had a round of sensitivity readers specifically for
cool.
transgender, specifically for being Black, specifically for being gay, specifically for because D is also Syrian. And so, like, I've got so many different things. I did a ton of different type of sensitivity, and I got a couple feedback on some things where I altered and changed it,
Okay.
because it was just me not knowing.
Right.
I didn't know that sometimes, oh, this line saying it this way is offensive, and here's why. And my job was to listen and be like, okay, then I'm changing it.
Right.
And I did, and I will continue to do that with each book, because why wouldn't I? You know what I mean?
Right.
But I haven't had any negative feedback on that aspect. I get negative
Awesome.
feedback on Grandma Susanna a lot. People get really upset about her. That's probably my most complained about one.
Why?
Because she's awful. She's homophobic. She's racist. She's old
Well,
fashioned. She's
yeah, but it's
mean.
purposely viewed in a very negative light, like, she's the worst.
And she's the worst, and it's very bluntly there that she's the worst. And I think sometimes it's enough to get it out in the real world. Like, we're sick of having to deal with it in the real world. I think some
Right.
people, they don't want to go in and see that in their stories, and I can't fault them in that.
Okay.
I get that. Yeah.
But when you have someone from so far back in the day, right? Like,
She's from the
I think
1600s.
at some point it would be dishonest to not represent if this is the personality in there, and these are supposed to be also like some pretty bad people.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be kind of dishonest to just kind of sweep over that and to not represent that too.
I feel like it's also kind of saying it didn't exist.
Exactly.
When
Yeah.
when you're looking at melding all these different types of people, like I've got not only different types of people, I've got different generations of ages with ghosts and stuff. And not bringing that stuff into the story is pretending like it didn't happen. Like, not talking
Right.
about that stuff, I think, is a problem. And
Mhm.
so that was another scary thing to tackle, especially her racism. Gosh, I hate it so much.
Yeah.
But it's real. Like, there's no way a woman of that standing from that time period with white skin wasn't a jerk sometimes. I mean, let's be real here. So I wanted to show that.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I like how, and that's part of what makes it like not cozy, like, and more like cozy horror, I think.
Yeah,
It's
it's really sounding not cozy as we talk about it, is it?
well, well, I mean, like, elements like that, like elements where everything is not gonna be just fine all the time. Everything is not, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of negativity in Viana's life, or Viana. I say Viana in my head, I think. Is it Viana?
That's okay. I think a lot of people do. I say Viana, but you know what? Whatever it is in your head, you go with it.
Okay. There's a lot of, she's surrounded by a lot of negativity, right? A lot of negative things. A lot of things that
Mhm.
are hard to deal with. She sees a lot of negative things. Like, she literally constantly is seeing the way people died. Constantly. Because you can see ghosts, and ghosts stand around replaying their deaths. And so that, but also a lot of these covens, they're pretty scary. And then, things like her racist and homophobic, great 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 grandpa or grandparents or grandmas. I mean, not grandpa,
Yeah.
grandma. Um, and so, but I really like that because it. I don't know. It just felt like such a perfect mashup of so many things that I felt like I hadn't ever read. So I liked it. I like that. I like that
Good.
you brought the negativity. That's not, I don't mean it like
Well,
that, but you know what I'm saying,
but I
right?
think it's something a lot of us deal with, right? Like, I'd like to think that I am an equal rights person, but I know I have relatives that aren't. I know it's something that I see and is around me. And so for Viana to have that experience and how she handles it and what she does with it, it was really, really important to me that we talk about that and we say, look, this is real. This sucks. And so there it is.
So kind of like changing topics to like a less like
I know people
stressful
are going
one.
to think like this is the most negative book, huh?
No, but still keeping on with like research, right? How did you do research into all of like the witchy stuff? Because that's the stuff that I think that and then some of the tropes that were used were some of my favorite aspects of this book. So I was really interested to know how you researched and then from there wanted to portray witchcraft.
Um, okay. So I'm a huge researcher. I have an addiction where I collect encyclopedias.
Oh, nice.
So, but not like Britannica encyclopedia. Come on, guys, that's lame. I like collect encyclopedias. Like I have one about gnomes. I have like a bazillion about fairies,
Okay.
dragons, plants. But like I have a whole collection of encyclopedias that are just for my legacy series. I have another series that I'm working on. That's an apocalyptic zombie series. You should see the encyclopedias for that one. That
Oh
gets really fun.
gosh.
But so I actually pulled up some books in prep of this question. Some are under the computer is why I'm looking down. And some
Oh,
of them are going to sound like really bad books. But the thing is I went through and I read all of these different approaches to magic, to Wiccan magic, to demon based magic, to fantasy based magic. And I was like, okay, how do I want to make this my own and what do I want to do? And they're witches. So I really kept the core of a lot of the magic system within Legacy based in Wiccan witchcraft.
right.
Because they're
Yeah.
witches and it just seemed like the most honest thing to do. There's a book I have. Oh, here we go. This one was great. Grimoire for the Green Witch,
Okay.
Anna Mora. It was fantastic because what it does, the way it organizes it, I can geek out over how encyclopedias are organized. I can't even tell
Oh,
you. But this one is beautiful because it goes down and it organizes. Obviously, there's like a section for spells and how you cast a spell and all that kind of stuff. But she breaks down like all of the stuff when I'm breaking down the conjure room. She breaks down, crystals, feathers, scents, all these different things and how they have different effects on things. And so I didn't necessarily take everything she said, but I'm like, well, let's take this concept and let's
right.
research what other people also feel like this means and this says. And I have a whole encyclopedia for everything in Viana's conjure room, everything that's ever used in a spell. I have a whole system of it has to have this element, this element, this element, every single spell in order for it to function and work.
Wow.
And so, yeah, luckily I'm a research geek, so it was absolutely a blast. Like it's not work, it's just fun. I don't know. I keep thinking one day I might release as a little side fun thing Viana's Grimoire as a piece, but we'll see. Yeah, because I have it all. I have all the information organized. Like it's just fun. It's really fun.
It shows because especially the conjure room is like pure aesthetic. Like I can vividly like imagine that room, and I was like, she must have done so much freaking research in order to create that picture, right? And then also a lot of the spell casting and things like that they do in there. It's kind of in depth. Hi. Hi. I'm like surrounded by my animals right now, and I usually have the
That's a good
door
place to
closed.
be.
I
Nothing
thought
wrong
the
with that.
door was closed and it was not, and so they like creaked it open, and then more and more,
It's like,
and now
hey,
I've got three of them in here right now.
that's okay.
um, yeah, I've got my dog, at my feet right now. He was whining earlier, but he's happy now.
Happy boy.
And then two cats just rubbing on my books because they're
Why
all over
not?
the
Two
floor
cats
right
too.
now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that this was kind of. I was like, is she a witch? Like,
I
like
get
when
that
you
a
were,
lot.
yeah, because I was
Um,
like, she must have just, she
I
just
like.
knew.
I always feel like that's a tricky question. Um, I'm not a practicing witch. I do believe there's energies, and I do believe that there's power and control over how those energies affect you and what you let affect you and what you put
Right.
out there and how you do it. I do believe there's power in that. And so I don't know. Maybe I'm a closet witch. Who knows?
So other than like encyclopedias, What else do you like to read? I know you talked about how you like to read all different genres. Is there like favorite authors, favorite books, books that inspired you or
So
that
many.
you yeah, any ones that come to mind, especially if you want to let our viewers know, give us some recommendations.
I think every time I've gone through like a hard period in my life, getting lost in the library has like saved me. Like getting lost into other worlds and stuff. I think Patricia Briggs does a series, the Mercedes Thompson series, and the characters like it was just a safe place. It was a lot of what I love about my own stories and writing characters that you fall into, and things aren't sugar coated and it's not easy. But the good wins in the end. There's always like a happily ever after, happy for now. I mean, the good guy wins. There's a price. And so I like that a lot. The characters were just absolutely phenomenal. I just swoon over V.E. Schwab's writing, like her actual stylistic writing. It's just, I have a theater background and she just makes me want to stand up on stage and read her book out loud. It's just eloquent, beautiful writing. I love it so much. I've been reading more and more horror lately, and I've really been blown away by Joyce Carol Oates. She
I've never heard of them.
oh my goodness. She knocks me off my butt a lot with her stuff.
Really?
So yeah, she goes dark, she goes there. She makes you uncomfortable, and I don't regret it at all. So she's pretty amazing. Casey McQuiston, I like her a lot for romance.
If there was going to be a book by Joyce Carol Oates I was going to read, what should I read?
Well, how dark do you like it? Do you like serial killer stuff?
I've read extreme horror. I've read
I would try
and then
zombie.
I've read up to cozy horror. So I'm all over.
I would
I
try
like
zombie.
characters. I like characters. I like atmosphere.
She immerses you in a killer's head in zombie, and it's intense. Like I was, yeah, it's really good, super good. The
Zombie.
structure of it, yeah, the structure of it and how she writes it. There's little doodlings from him in it in some of the pages.
Oh, that was like
Yeah,
freak me
it's
out.
she really ran into the psyche there, and just blew me away.
Wow. I'm gonna definitely. Oh, she has one called Blondie or Blonde. Is it Blonde or Blondie?
Zombie is the one I was saying. I
Oh,
don't know Blondie.
I think it must be a different one because that was all in French. I don't know. I will definitely have to check her out.
Yeah, those are good.
Horror is something that I kind of don't read. Like, I would say it's like maybe 10%, maybe
Okay.
10% of what I read, which is still a good amount if you consider the fact that I read like, I can't remember how many books I read last year, like 130, 140. Like, I read a lot. Like, I mean, there are booktubers that read way more
Oh,
than
you guys are amazing. You guys are amazing. I'm just so in love with how much support you guys give and how much you just dive into books and stories and are willing to like spend your time getting the information out there to other readers. And like, it's a whole
oh,
community. It's
it
a
is.
very loving, giving community all centered around books and stories and storytelling. And it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's been a blast being on BookTube, and I'm actually coming up on my 1 year soon. I think
Congratulations.
I think I've been on here for 11 months. Oh yeah,
Sounds
so
good to
I'm
me.
almost yeah, I think it's been like 11 months, and which is crazy because I feel like I've been here longer because I've developed so many relationships. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's definitely an awesome community. But yeah. I think I asked you all of like the big majors. And Oh, you know what I meant to ask you? I really wanted to ask you. Audiobooks.
I would
Do you
like
have
to,
audiobooks?
yes. I don't have a plan yet of how I'm going to accomplish it, but someday, yes.
They're expensive.
You're breaking up. What was that?
They audiobooks
Mm,
to make audiobooks. That's like really expensive from what I've heard.
I've heard that too. I did a podcast for a while, and so like I have all of the audio set up and everything, and debated doing it myself. I have an author friend who did it herself, and she did it beautifully. But that sounds like a lot of freaking work. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna keep writing books for right now. We'll see when that opportunity brings itself forward. I don't know.
That's funny. Well, I really appreciate you coming and chatting with me.
Of
I
course.
definitely have to say, anyone who hasn't read this yet, please go check out Legacy Witches. I have it linked in the description. I don't know what the link was from, but I have it linked in the description. And if you like cozy horror, or if you like paranormal mysteries, or if you like witchy books, it's a combination of all of those things. And
And despite all the negativity, it ends on a good note. I never leave you on a bad note with a book or a series. I always leave you high and feeling good. So don't be afraid. Go
very
get it.
true. That's very, very true. Like, and that's what I think left me with that like cozy feel was by the end it does, like, no matter all the hard and negative things that Vienna goes through, or some of like the kind of more horror type things that we see, it ends way like happier and more cozy than would like a normal horror. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, for
Um,
sure. Yeah.
so yeah, I just definitely go check it out. Check it out if you haven't already. And the second book is out too. And it sounds like the third is in the works. So
Yep.
very exciting. I really appreciate you coming and
Of
chatting
course.
with
Thank
me
you for
today.
having me. I appreciate it.
And hopefully, maybe once the series is over, or maybe before that, I'll have you back here again.
You let me know.
Especially I'm like I'm freaking out over here over this like fantasy romance announcement. I'm like,
I don't think I've said that anywhere. You're the first place I've said that out loud.
what?
So
Oh, really?
yeah, you get the breaking news. That's good. It's all
That's
good.
amazing. I'm over here. I'm like, I cannot wait, because I cannot wait to see your spin on Celtic fantasy romance. Oh my god.
It was fun.
I'm so excited.
Poppy makes sure I don't go too dark. She makes sure we bring in the romance too. It's a good balance.
That's so cool. I'm freaking out. I'm really excited. Well, thank you guys, everyone who came to watch, or everyone watching in the playback. All of my information is down below in the description, my social media and everything. Don't forget to click the button and subscribe if you haven't already. Go check out Cascade. I have her information down below. She some really and other than that, I'm gonna go ahead and head out. We're gonna go because it is night and I've been gardening all day and I'm exhausted. I want to go to sleep.
Go rest up.
So thank you guys, everyone, for joining us. I will see you soon with another video.
Thanks.